Hello and welcome to another episode of the Diet Obsessed podcast. I am your host, Veronica Santarelli. I am a certified personal trainer, nutrition and weight loss coach, and this podcast is for those of us who are just obsessed with everything related to improving health and longevity, with a special emphasis on food, fitness, and diet culture. All right, let's get into the show. But first, if you want to support the show, there's a variety of ways you can do that. If you're watching on YouTube, just click that subscribe button. It really helps us, doesn't cost you a thing. I also have 2 premium content shows every month. So this is one of my free shows. I do one every other week. And then every other week, I also do an extra juicy, extra personal, extra controversial, paid episode. So you can subscribe through Patreon, through Apple Podcasts, really wherever you listen to podcasts. I have 2 levels, a VIP level only available through Patreon, and then I have a regular tier that you can get anywhere. And so if you want that extra controversial stuff, next week I will have a paid episode. And so you can subscribe any of those ways I just shared. You can also just leave a rating and review. That really means the world to us podcasters, and I appreciate your support. All right, everyone, let's get into it. So I hope you all had a wonderful holiday. I hope whatever you celebrated, whether you celebrated Kwanzaa or Hanukkah or Christmas, I hope you had a really nice time and delicious food. So it's still, you'll be listening to this in the new year. But I'm recording this and it's the 30th, I believe. Yeah. So tomorrow is New Year's Eve. And so I'm still in the process of getting back on track from the holidays. And so let's just jump right into my first segment, my mental health check-in. So my mental health is good. You know, I just got back from seeing my family in Maine, and I always love visiting my family and being in the house that I grew up in. And it was a white Christmas, so it was so beautiful. We did some holiday, winter wonderland walks, and, took the dog out and, just enjoyed the snow and how pretty it is when it snows. It's just the last few winters have been very mild, so we've gotten just dreary rain instead of snow. And so I love it when it snows. It's very magical outside. And it was just nice to be home. I did have to work quite a bit of it, but I get to work from home. And so I was like, okay, I had applied for the whole week of Christmas off, like a month or 2 ago. And very last minute, they gave me 2 of the days off. And I'm like, well, I'm a planner. I'm like, I need to be able to plan on days off. So I ended up working, and so it was good. I definitely need the money. So, and it was just nice to just be home in Maine and with family. So that's always good. That kind of resets me for the year. I get some good quality time with my mom and my sister. And so, no, I didn't see as many friends this year. I did see one of my best friends, Mike. So I did get to see him. My other best friend, Kathy, she was up in Canada for the whole holiday, so I didn't get to see her. But this holiday, I was just very focused on family and just enjoying being home and enjoying some of the days off that I had, because this past year has been very little time off and just trying to rebuild. So I did have some decent balance. I always, pack on some extra weight this time of year, which I'm totally okay with. I love indulging this time of year. So you'll hear about all my tasty treats pretty soon. But I had a good amount of balance. I was working out and being pretty active the entire time. That always, keeps me in a pretty good mental place if I'm getting some level of activity in. But I planned on having a little bit more balance, but But I did have a few nights where I ate till my stomach hurt, and so still recovering from some of that. But anyway, it's good to be back in Arizona, back in my actual home, and I love being back in the sun. This is such a nice time of year to be in Arizona. So I'm just practicing gratitude, right, for where I'm at, feeling very lucky to live in what I call paradise. I used to live in California. People were always like, oh, it's too bad you can't live there anymore. I'm like, no, I love the desert. Like, give me the desert, the warmth, the sun. Ugh, I love it here. So anyway, so I'm back, and I do need to, I work tomorrow. So tomorrow's New Year's Eve. And all my life, the expectation, right, is that you go out all New Year's Eve, you're out until midnight, you're partying, you're drinking. Back in the day, it was going out to a club, and at the end of the day, I have never really had fun those nights. I don't know. Now I'm more about more daytime fun, earlier nights. I'm not someone that really wants to stay out till all hours and force myself to go and be in this really loud, overpriced environment till midnight. I don't want to do that anymore. And that's not to say that if I had the time off, I wouldn't go out and do something to celebrate the upcoming new year. But I've been thinking lately about being more intentional with how I want to go into the new year. And for the past few years, I've been in Maine, and we would go and have a really very expensive but very nice dinner with my sister, and we would get all these expensive bottles of wine, and we'd eat at Primo, which is an incredible restaurant, but it'd be like a $400 meal. And again, sometimes I would be so, when you anticipate something so much and you build it up and it's got to be the best night and the best food and the this and that, and then it's disappointing. And so just do something really different and special, and something where it's not just this hazy, booze fueled like thing I don't want to do, and look, I'm not saying I don't want any alcohol, right? I'm not going to do a dry January. I'm not someone that's like cleansing myself of all alcohol, right? Like, I am going to have some alcohol on New Year's Day. But again, it's how do I, like, what do I want for my new year? And what intentions do I want to set for myself? And I'd read this story of this guy who had he would always hike up this mountain, over New Year's Eve, and then he'd hit the summit in time for the sunset, and he would watch the sunset rise over this beautiful mountain, and he would, meditate and set his intentions. And again, that sounds amazing. Would I do that? I don't know. I don't know that I would hike a mountain in the wee hours, but I do really like the idea. So I love the idea of doing something that involves being active, nature, something spiritual in a way that connects with my soul. So, and I've done that, last year, because I had talked about when I do travel now, I want there to be some sort of activity, some sort of nature experience. And last year we did that. We went to Banff in Canada. It was so majestic and beautiful, those mountains. We had this bougie experience. We hiked. And then Antelope Canyon last year, or technically this year. When you're hearing this, it'll be last year. So I'm proud of myself for living by those values and ideas, because having that is really important to me, connecting with nature. Obviously, we did the brewery thing while we were at Antelope Canyon. So we did something like what Chad wanted to do, and we had some cocktails and we partied a little bit, but we also did really active things, beautiful nature. We've got these incredible pictures and memories that we created, and we connected as good friends. And all that's really important. I mean, when you think about overall health, a sense of community, socializing, like all those things are very important to overall health. And having connected relationships in my life, friendships that mean a lot, is very important to me. So all of those things I want to kind of take into the new year and continue to focus on those things. And this next 6 months is going to be, again, working a lot, because hopefully that sometime this year I can get promoted and I can cut back a little bit on one of the other jobs that I have, so I can have a little bit of a better work-life balance. But I know this next 6 months is just like head down, being focused, giving it my all, getting up early, doing the training, doing all these things. So when I thought about, okay, what do I want to do for New Year's? I was like, okay, well, I would like to have a hobby with Chad that we do more often, that's healthy, that isn't just drinking, going to bars, right? So I got some pickleball equipment, and I'm like, I want to play pickleball because there's some courts down the street. They're free, they're open, and I'm like, I want to get good at pickleball and just start to play more often with my partner. So I might need to drag him there. It's supposed to rain. He's like, it's gonna rain. I'm like, who cares? I'm like, I don't care. I'm like, we're going. So I sent a text to all my friends, and I said, hey, I'm working quite late on New Year's Eve, so I won't be doing anything that night. I said, but in the morning, I said, I'm going to be cooking a delicious brunch. I'm going to be playing pickleball. I'm going to have all the stuff to make vision boards. And then I'm going to do some fresh squeezed orange juice for some mimosas. And so I'm going to make a really yummy brunch with stuff that I love, like home fries and eggs and bacon and waffles and buttered sourdough toast. And then I was hoping the tangelos would be ripe on the tree. They're not quite there yet, so I did pick up some oranges. I'll do the fresh squeezed oranges. We have a couple bottles of champagne, and I picked up a couple extras. So I'm like, I love to cook for people. And even if nobody can make it because they're out the night before, I don't care. I'll have all this delicious food that I can, eat more than just that day. And for the people that do come, I love to cook for people. It'll be a way to bring people together, connect over just, we'll watch some football, we'll go in the hot tub, for people that want to play pickleball, we'll go play pickleball first. So we'll do something healthy and active in the morning. I'll get to eat some delicious food with people that I care about. And then redo the vision board, because my vision board, let me tell you, needs some updates. I think the last time maybe I did update it a little bit. No, I didn't. I don't think I updated it last year, but it desperately needs some updating, because I think what I mainly have on there is from like 2 years ago, and so much in my life has changed. And now that I walked away from my startup company, and I'm being very intentional about what I choose for myself and how I build my future, I do want to be very thoughtful about what I put on that vision board this year. And so I thought, this is all stuff that I want to do. And if anybody wants to join me, great. If no one can make it, no worries at all. So I'm taking all the pressure off. I'm doing what I want to do, doing what I will feel good doing. And I might have some friends with me. Regardless, that's how I want to go into 2026. I want to be eating delicious food. I want to be active. I want to be outside enjoying some nature, and even just being in my backyard. Like I just love like watching the birds, looking at all the plant life we have, because Arizona's so wild with nature. So anyway, just those little small things that spark joy, that aren't super expensive, being around people that we love, connected relationships, learning and playing a new sport and getting good at it. All those things resonate with me. So that's how I want to start the new year. And yeah, certainly I will be doing some drinking. Now, I am deciding what I want to do for kind of a nutrition regimen, because I am going to do some sort of nutrition challenge. So I will figure that out by the time I do my next podcast. The things that I'm throwing around is just a month of completely whole foods, and no processed sugar. I might just do no processed sugar, because I am realizing if I do all whole foods, then I won't be able to have my sourdough bread. So I'm deciding if I can give up my sourdough bread, because I'm like obsessed with it now. So we'll see. But I do want to do some sort of, after eating so indulgently for the last 2 weeks, I kind of need that reset. I need that kind of little bit more strict thing that just recenters me and makes me appreciate the small things again. So I'll be thinking about that, and I'll let you know what I'm going to be doing pretty soon. I do have some topics for next week behind the paywall that are, some things happened over the last couple weeks I do want to talk about. Some of it's really dark, some of it's political, some of it's really sad and difficult to talk about, and I have my own strong thoughts about it. So that'll be for next week. Some of it will fall into the mental health check-in, because there's a lot of crazy things involving mental health that happened recently that I do want to talk about. So that's for next week. Now, one thing you might notice is right in the corner there, you'll see that I brought back my old logo. So for those that have been with me since the beginning, when I started this podcast, like 5 years ago now, this was my original logo. I didn't really know what I wanted to do. As I was realizing I needed a logo, as I was trying to create this podcast very quickly, I was like, I didn't really put any thought into my logo. And I was like, okay, diet obsessed, health, food, and I just wanted something really simple. And I'm like, and I just thought, I use a lot of, I had my iPhone, and I'm like, not that whole saying, like an apple a day keeps the doctor away. Because again, the whole point of this podcast was having some balance in your life, so you don't end up with, getting sick like my dad was sick. Anyway, so I landed on the simple apple. I'm like, let me just look on Canva and find a picture of an apple that resonates with me, and I'll just put it on there with the diet obsessed. Great. Very, very, very little thought put into it. And then when I launched, I had no idea. I had never heard of the Maintenance Phase podcast, but apparently now that I know the Maintenance Phase podcast, because I've done many reviews of it, they do have an apple and a pear in their logo. And I started getting all this hate. Like I was trying to copy this logo. I was trying to rip off this other podcast, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm getting all this hate. I'm getting all these negative reviews, and this was not my intention. And so I ended up kind of pandering to that and changing my logo, because I'm like, it's not a big deal. I want to show that I'm not trying to copy this company or this other podcast, and I didn't put a lot of thought into this logo, and I really don't care if I changed or not. To me, it didn't really matter. But then I did try changing my logo, and I had that green monstrosity. I had this other busy one that was here before. I've tried a number of things and I didn't like any of them. And I would hate it every time I would see this green, ugly logo that I had. I'm like, I hate this logo. I really miss my old one. As simple and basic as this was, and as much it didn't really mean a lot to me, I really did like it. I'm like, I like the simplicity of this logo. So I'm like, you know what? I'm like, maintenance phase is like barely on anymore. They come out with very few free episodes. It's mainly their Patreon that they promote because they make money from it. So they're doing very few free shows anymore. So I'm like, okay, well, I'm just going to bring back my old logo that I loved. So maybe someday again, maybe I'll get hate again. I don't even know. I don't know if people are still avidly searching for that show because you don't get as many free shows anymore. But regardless, I'm going to do what I want to do. I'm going to do what I started out initially doing, something that resonated with me, chose it for all the right reasons. And in 2026, we're going back to it. So here we go. So that's back. Now, I can finally talk about some of the gifts that I gave and received for Christmas. And because some of them are skincare related. And I'm going to talk about this actually in a skincare segment. So I was more thoughtful in what I got people for Christmas this year. I don't know, I think this was really the first year that I wasn't running that startup company anymore. And I just had more time to think about what I wanted to give people. I don't know. It's weird because I think when I had that company and I was working full time for it, it felt like every single second had to be focused on that business. And now I'm like, okay, I'm taking some of that time back and putting it into areas where I can think about other people in my life that I love. And part of that was like taking advantage of Black Friday and being able to really think about like, what do the people in my life, what will make them happy? And my sister has had a new interest in skincare, in some beauty products, because she is on TV and she's so present on social media. And we're aging, right? So she's noticing little things about herself here and there as she ages that she's never really thought about anymore. She is very blessed genetically. Like she doesn't have all the white and gray hair that I started getting in my 20s. She has that real Italian skin it's like olive skin. It's just naturally hydrated and just doesn't have as many, like the propensity to wrinkle as fast as my skin does. So anyway, so she's been able to age really well for a very, very long time. And she's finally being like, okay, like, and still not willing to get Botox, but wanting to do just maybe some more natural things. And so one of the things I did get her was, she'd been wanting some sort of, not foundation, she doesn't want foundation, but she did want some sort of something that she could put on her skin that would, even out the texture and tone and things. So I got her this, it's basically a moisturizer. It's like a tinted moisturizer that does have some SPF in it. It's SPF 30. And it should look kind of like what I wear. Like I kind of do something similar with like an SPF with a little bit of like tint in it. And so it just makes you look like you're wearing foundation, but you're also protecting your skin. So that was one of the things that I got her. Then, and then I'm going to talk about a few more. I did get her some lip glosses, some other beauty products, but I'm going to talk about some of these gifts in my next segments. I did get Chad a cervical spine pillow because he's always talking about like he's constantly in pain. His neck is constantly bothering him. And I was watching this dermatologist who was talking about this pillow that she uses. And she said she uses the cervical spine pillow that's basically for people that have had spine surgery. And it keeps her head like really like straight. So she's not like, and I think she does it so she doesn't like wrinkle her skin. But I'm like, oh, a cervical spine pillow. I never really thought about that. And so I started doing some research, and there's some really expensive ones, there's some not so expensive ones, and I read a lot of the reviews, and the one I ended up choosing was pretty mid-price. I think it was like, I don't know, it was maybe like around $50. But the reviews are really good. For some people, it's really helped them get less headaches, have less neck pain, and it's even helped some of them with some arm pain, which Chad also has. So I'm hoping that this pillow helps him. So I got him that. I got him some candy, because again, like last year I got him all those health gifts that he hated. And I'm like, this is the time of year where you should be getting some like indulgent, delicious things. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to not get him the health things. I'll get him those during the week, like just for regular health stuff. I'll get him some candy. I got him a beer gift, a couple beer gifts, and then I got him a cameo. So we'll see. I'm still waiting for this cameo to come through from this actor, Steve Lemmy. Hopefully he didn't hear that. Anyway, we'll see. We'll see if it comes through. But anyway, that is my mental health check-in of the week. I hope all of you have had a great mental health week yourselves. All right, let's get into a Science of Strength segment. Now, I wanted to talk about another gift that I got my stepfather, my mom, and myself, actually, as I've been wanting one of these for home for a while. And I ended up getting them some weighted vests. Now, it's funny because I heard about the benefits of these. Obviously, I'm a personal trainer, and adding resistance to any workout is going to be good for bone density, for muscle building. But then there's been also a lot of backlash to weighted vests. And I'm like, why is there so much backlash? And it's because I listen to a lot of health and wellness podcasts, and then I listen to a lot of anti-diet podcasts, one of them being Burnt Toast. And so they end up kind of not tearing down some of these trends, but they want to take away the pressure that people might feel to follow some of these health trends. Like, basically, like, you're good, you're fine, you're good as you are, you don't need to be walking around your home in a weighted vest. And I get why they do that. They want to take pressure off women, especially. They want to take pressure off moms, busy moms that might need to have a quick pre-made meal that they throw in the microwave or something. They're like, social media makes you feel like you have to be making bread from scratch and everything homemade. And so they're just trying to like take the pressure off people and be like, no, you don't have to be running a marathon every day to have good health. So it's along those lines that they talked about these weighted vests. And they are quick to say that, hey, if you like your weighted vest, if this works for you, keep doing it. We're not here to say it's bad. We're just here to say you don't have to follow these things if you don't want to. And where they've talked about this is especially in the perimenopause, menopause space, where they want women that are, there's all this talk about having more protein, building muscle as we age. And again, all of that is so important. But, again, the anti-diet, anti-fat podcasts that I listen to are very focused on you don't need to change your body to feel good about yourself. And the other side is that if you do build more muscle, you will have better health as you age. You will feel better. You'll have less pain. So I'm like, as I'm like listening to these things, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to listen to the science that I know that these are good for you. And because especially like my stepfather, he's in really good shape. He's almost 80. but he mainly runs. Like, he loves to run. And I would love to see him building more muscle, but he's just not someone that likes to go to the gym. I think he's definitely more of the diet culture mind, where he feels like he needs to run miles and miles and burn a ton of calories to feel like he got a workout in. And so my thought was, let me get him like a 16-pound weighted vest to add some resistance to even a dog walk if he wears it for a dog walk. So I got my mom a 12-pound vest. I got a 10, a 12, and a 16. And so the 10-pound I ended up actually leaving back in Maine. So I think I'm going to order another one for here and maybe get the 16-pound waist just for myself. Because I do like the idea of creating more resistance for myself. Even if it is, I never really thought about walking around the house in my weighted vest. But it's funny, like as soon as my mom opened it, she loved it. She like put it on right away. She's like, oh, this is so cool. She really liked it. And so I did want to read an article, why you should add a weighted vest to your walking workouts per doctors and trainers. And this is from Women's Health magazine. And so whether you're out for a hot girl walk or scrolling through TikTok, you might be spotting more and more women sporting the weighted vest during physical activity. This trend has taken off as a simple way to boost your daily steps, claiming benefits like burning more calories and building muscle. Now, I don't want my mom to burn more calories. My mom does not need to lose weight, right? But this is talking about, is this worth the investment? And there are things in here that I do want my mom to get out of a weighted vest. So they're saying, is it worth the investment? And this article is saying, in short, yes. A weighted vest can be a practical, affordable, and effective way to level up your existing fitness routine, with some of the top picks ringing in just under $50. And the added resistance that comes from a weighted vest increases the challenge of familiar exercises without the need to change form or add complex movements. And so whether you're walking, running, or doing body weight exercises like squats or lunges, the extra resistance elevates the intensity. And unlike more traditional resistance equipment such as dumbbells or resistance bands, a weighted vest proposes a hands-free solution to up the ante of moves you're already doing. This added resistance helps increase cardiovascular intensity, build strength, improve bone density, making it a versatile addition to fitness routines. And those are the things that I want my stepfather and my mom to get out of the weighted vest, right? Increasing their cardiovascular intensity, building strength, and improving bone density, right? Those are very important things. Many women also use a weighted vest for weight loss since they burn more calories. And again, that's not why I want my mom to wear the weighted vest, but improving bone density, that's a big one, because she ended up getting pre-osteoporosis, and she's better. She was taking some medication for it, and she's maintained her bone density. She is also doing more strength training than she has in the past, but it does improve bone density. So walking with a weighted vest can promote healthy bone density, which is crucial for aging women who face a higher risk of osteoporosis. I think it's osteopenia. Maybe she had developed the precursor to osteoporosis. And the added weight provides a mild form of resistance, encouraging bones to adapt and become stronger. And this type of weight-bearing exercise is particularly beneficial for women post-menopause, as bone density naturally decreases during this stage of life. It also adds a strength training element. So walking, as we know, is already great exercise, but incorporating a weighted vest turns a casual stroll into a strength building exercise. The extra weight increases the workload on muscles in the legs, glutes, and core, effectively blending strength training into a low impact cardio routine. So as a result, walking with a weighting vest is an accessible and simple way for women and men to improve muscle tone and strength without needing to lift traditional weights. It also boosts cardiovascular health. So the way that it does this is wearing a weighted vest boosts the cardiovascular intensity of an average stroll by increasing your heart rate, which in turn improves overall stamina and heart health. The harder the workout, the harder the heart rate, or the higher the heart rate, which also means your body can more efficiently move oxygen and blood to your muscles. And this helps burn more calories, shed fat, lower cholesterol, and reduce high blood pressure. It also promotes better posture. A weighted vest engages your core muscles and encourages a more upright posture during walks. The added weight requires stabilization from the abdominal and spinal muscles, leading to improved balance. Ooh, that's good. And a stronger core, which can be especially beneficial for women who spend a lot of time sitting or experience posture-related issues. I mean, I should get one for Chad too. I think I'm gonna. I'm sure he'll love it. And then burning calories. Now, I'm not going to focus on this one because, well, I guess this would be important for some people. So if you're on a weight loss journey, the weighted vest can burn more calories faster while simultaneously building muscle. And the more muscle mass you have, the higher your resting metabolic rate is, allowing your body to burn more calories while at rest. They're posing the question, how often should I wear a weighted vest? And they say when it comes to wearing a weighted vest, experts recommend to start slow and progressively increase frequency and duration. Prolonged use, like several hours, can lead to joint strain, muscle fatigue, and posture issues if the weight is too heavy or worn for too long. So it's important to just gradually introduce weight and duration and not overload your body. That makes sense. Initially, it's best to limit your sessions to 10 to 20 minutes or a moderate distance such as a mile. Over time, your body will adjust to the added weight. You can increase the duration or distance of your walks, but gradually building up duration helps minimize the risk of injury. Now, there are some drawbacks that you need to be careful of, like joint and muscle strain. Walking with a weighted vest is generally pretty safe for most folks, but overdoing it can lead to joint strain, especially in the knees, hips, and lower back. The added weight increases the load on these joints, which can lead to overuse injuries, particularly if the vest is too heavy or used too frequently. Those with existing joint problems such as arthritis, chronic knee, hip, or back pain should check with their healthcare provider before trying a weighted vest, since the added load can increase the stress, potentially worsening the condition or causing injuries. Now, this is something I've thought about for my own knee pain, right? Because when I was home, I did put on the 10-pound weighted vest, and then I did a dumbbell workout with another set of 10 pounds. And I had to be very, very conscious when I did squats and lunges that I pushed from my heel and had excellent form. Because if you don't have proper form, especially when you're doing things like lunging and squatting, it can put a lot of pressure on your knees, on your backs, on your hips. And because I have natural hip and knee issues, I did realize I have to be careful with how much I load not to exacerbate my knee injuries. So that is something. My mom has had some back issues, but she does do very specific exercises to decrease her pain. And I think as long as she's doing it mainly on walks, she'll be fine. But it's just something to be aware of. And then poor posture. I mean, if your vest is improperly fitted or too heavy, it can do funky things to your posture. So again, it's all making sure that you're choosing a weight that works for you, not overdoing it, not moving in a way that exacerbates an injury. So anyway, so I thought that was really good information. And I'm leaning into the weighted vest era. I love it. I think it's a great addition for increasing resistance, bone density, muscle building. And I mean, for somebody like me, where I really overindulge sometimes. I mean, the extra calorie burn won't be a bad thing, especially as I'm getting back into things. But, for somebody that has, is older, more needs to gain weight, you do want to be careful burning too many calories, right? So, and consult with your doctor or your healthcare provider before you start anything like this, especially if you have known injuries. But anyway, I'm I'm happy with my gift that I gave them. I hope they enjoy it. My mother will probably listen to this episode and hear some of the benefits. So I was going to send her this article, but she listens to my podcast. So there you go, Mom. I hope you're enjoying your weighted vest. Make sure that George doesn't overdo it because he has the 16-pounder. It was funny because I accidentally gave her the 16-pounder at first, and she's like trying to lift it to bring it over. It was very cute, but I'm like, okay, that's the wrong one. You should be using the 12-pound, because she does when she uses dumbbells, she uses 10-pound weight. So I'm like, let me just increase it a little bit so that she has a little bit of extra weight on her when she's walking. So anyway, that is my Science of Strength segment of the week. All right, let's get into my science of skincare. And so I did want to talk about the other gift that I gave my mom and my sister. So I got them this 14% glycolic acid, and I got one for myself as well. So 15%. So I read that article, not the published research, about how the combination of estrogen cream on the face and glycolic acid at 15% led to like a 38% improvement in skin texture, thickness, reduction of fine lines and wrinkles, increased collagen, like all those things. So I talked about, I think I mentioned this, I'd gotten the estrogen cream from my gynecologist. So she sent in a prescription. Now, it was not cheap, okay? I think my insurance covered some of it, but it was still $65 for this tube that's like this big. So I'm excited to use it. So I will continue to use this. So using that skin cream. Now what I do is I put about a pea-sized amount into my regular Pond's skin cream. And then I mix it in and I put it all on my face, my neck, the back of my hands, and a little bit on my chest. And so I do that every other night. And then every other night I'm using the glycolic acid. Now, I'm doing this to slowly baby step my way into it. And also so I'm not spending a ton of money. Eventually I'll probably do both of them together in a day. But I just want to slowly, very, very, very slowly build up. I don't want to like overdo it to start. So I'm just putting a very little tiny bit into a larger area, and I'm hoping that this one vial lasts me at least 2 months. I'm hoping I can get 2 months out of it. And then same thing with this glycolic acid. I'm hoping I can get 2 months if I spread it out. And then that I'm putting on every other night, and I'm putting it same areas. And again, the two of those things together should produce really good results. Now my mom and my sister don't do a lot of stuff on there. They don't have this big regimen. And especially my sister, I mean, she's never gotten Botox. She's never done these things. So, and the 14%, now the research study was for 15%. And I was contemplating getting them these masks from Goop. It was like $45 for 5 masks. And it did have that 15% glycolic acid. Now, I was worried that A, they wouldn't use it, and B, that it might be a little bit too strong, especially for my sister's skin, because Gwyneth Paltrow would come out with this new advertisement being like, okay, like some people are saying that these face sheets are too strong. And they're like, well, we want them to be strong. We want them to be able to produce results. And I think what's happening is some people that have that sensitive skin might be getting some dryness or some peeling. I haven't experienced that. So, and I don't know if this brand that I got is a super high quality brand. I hope it is, but I'm going to try it, see if I get any results from it. And then I'll probably find a 15% bottle the next time I use it. And then eventually I might buy these face masks, but I kind of wanted to baby step it for all of us, right? Because I wasn't sure if even 14% might be too strong for my mom or my sister, because my mom also has very, very sensitive skin. She, she grew up, like I grew up in the era where you didn't protect your skin. She especially grew up in that era. I mean, my mom talks about how her mom or her family brought her to the beach one day and they didn't protect her skin. And, back then they didn't realize the damage that the sun would do. And she still remembers like crying and being covered in these terrible burns. And, she just did a lot of damage to her skin as a child, not being able to protect herself, poor thing. So she's, dealing with the repercussions of all that skin damage and sun damage now. And but this glycolic acid is supposed to be really good. It's also very gentle, so it's not like a chemical peel or anything like that. So anyway, I hope it works for them. I will be reporting back. I had bought a Juvederm. Juvederm had done these BOGO gift cards, and I was like, oh, I'll get one of these because at the time I was doing, my lips. I was doing those lines right here. What are those? I forget what they're called, like neoplasmal folds. I forget the exact term for it, but those lines right here, my temples, and some in my cheekbones, but I really don't like filler. I want to. And I've had these gift cards for 2 years. And the thing is, so you could only buy like one. And so it was a $75 BOGO. So it's $150 I can spend. But Juvederm, if you go to get like a vial of Juvederm, it's like $750. And now that I know that filler doesn't really go away, it ends up like migrating to other parts of your face. I'm like, if I want to do that anymore. So like eventually, because I don't really need to do my lips again. Like last time I went to get them redone, they're like, you don't need it. In fact, some of it's migrated above your lip, which again, I'm fine with that. So again, I don't need to put any more in my lips. I will eventually need some in my temples, but again, I'm not gonna use it anytime soon. There's other stuff that I'd rather do. So I was going back and forth with their customer service, trying to get them to allow me to use that gift card for Botox, because it's like the same company. I'm like, it's the same company. I'm like, can't you just let me use it for this other product that you guys sell? I'm like, that's just good customer service. And they would not let me. So they will allow me to not get the BOGO. They'll basically be like, well, we'll give you a $75 gift card to spend anywhere, but we're not going to like give you the BOGO deal. I'm like, okay, well, that's terrible customer service. I'm like, you guys are a multi-million-dollar pharmaceutical company. I purchased this. You've held on to my $75 for the past 2 years. I'm like, you should allow me to use this for something else. And of course they wouldn't. And I'm sure they want people to be buying filler. I'm sure they have all this filler that no one's buying anymore, because now people know that filler migrates. Filler is not the best thing that you really want to be doing. So I'm sure they've had a huge decline in sales. And so they're probably like, screw you, bitch. Like we're going to force you to use it on Juvederm, or you don't get the deal. So anyway, so I'm like, whatever, I'll take the $75 back and I'll use it on Botox. So I had asked Chad, because when I was over in Massachusetts, I was like planning all these things I wanted to do with my skin. And at the time I was thinking I wanted to do that PRP, that the microneedling with the blood draw and the vampire facial. And there's a a med spa close to me that does that stuff. So I'm like, okay, I think I want to go there. And so I'd asked Chad for this gift card so I could get that procedure done. And then I learned about Ellacor, and I'm like, oh, I don't want to do that. I want to do the Ellacor. So what I'm going to do is just use that gift card for Botox. So I'm going to use those gift cards, get my next round of Botox, and then just be done with the gift cards. And then eventually, we'll see. And we'll see. Like, so this year, I'm not going to do anything crazy. Oh, this is a year of saving, building my career, of getting into the financial place where I can do some of these other things like my blepharoplasty. Again, that's probably like 2 years away at this point. But this year is going to be the year of my neurotoxins. I do want to try Daxify at some point, and my estrogen cream and my glycolic acid. And I did do a before and after of my hands, because I'm going to be using it on the back of my hands, the crepiness, my neck. So we'll see. I'm hoping to see some good results, but I will report it back here. And then I'm curious to see what my family has for results. Hopefully they actually use the products I got them, but we'll see. Anyway, that is my Science of Skincare segment of the week. All right, let's get into my diet culture media moment of the week. Now, I was on Instagram yesterday, and I follow a couple of the trainers at the new studio that I'm training at. And one of them had reposted this video of this guy. I'm not even going to promote him because he's an asshole. Okay, let me just say that. He has a huge following. He has almost 1 million followers. And he was basically like bragging. He's like, I've won. Guess who got this policy changed? Me. He's like, we're no longer catering to obese people that are taking over our plane seats. And now guess what? You'll need to pay for that extra seat. And he was like all proud of himself. This guy was so rude to fat people. And look, as a trainer, obviously, I want people to live the healthiest life. And obviously, there can be bad things that happen from gaining an excess of visceral fat, obviously, right? And I'm very much helping my clients lose fat and prevent chronic health conditions. And look, fat loss, moving your body, all of this can lead to very good things. This guy highlights people that were part of the body positivity movement and just tears them apart. But I had not heard about this Southwest policy change, so I did want to check it out. So basically what's happening is Southwest Airlines are impacting thousands with a plus size tax. I guess that's what some people are calling it. And I just flew Southwest. Now, I had heard that they were changing that they were going to like assigned seating. My boyfriend was like, no, you're going to have an assigned seat now. And I'm like, no, and I haven't flown Southwest ever since that massive debacle happened where they canceled like 1 million flights. But luckily I was one of the few that didn't have many flight issues this past flight. And I booked Southwest specifically because like it was the cheapest flight I could get. I was booking last minute. It was the only flight I could get under $1,000. And so I took it. But Southwest Airlines long recognized, this is a Newsweek article, long recognized for its unique and humane approach to accommodating plus-size travelers, according to Forbes, is ending its customer of size policy, introducing new rules that mean plus-size passengers must now pay for extra room. This policy reversal could make flying expensive for some and fundamentally change Southwest's customer-first reputation. It also raises questions about inclusivity, passengers' rights, and how airlines should accommodate diverse body types. Here's what you should know. So previously, Southwest allowed passengers who needed it to buy an extra seat and claim a refund once the journey was over. Under the revised policy, effective January 27, 2026, so this is coming up this next month, any passenger who cannot sit comfortably within a single seat's armrests will only be refunded for the purchase of a second flight if the flight is not sold out. But the seats are in the same fare class, and the request for a refund is made within 90 days of the journey. The newly announced rule coincides with two other major changes. From January 27th, Southwest will also abandon its open seating model in favor of assigned seating. Okay, so it is going to happen. Separately, in May, the airline ended its long-standing bags fly free policy and introduced baggage fees. Now, I didn't like that either. Obviously, I was potentially going to check a bag, but I decided to just bring carry-ons because I'm cheap. Southwest's updated policy follows trends as at American Airlines, United Airlines, blah, blah, blah. What people are saying. So Southwest Airlines previously said in a statement to Newsweek, "We are updating many policies as we prepare our operation, employees, and customers for assigned seating on January 27, 2026. To ensure space, we are communicating to customers who have previously used the extra seat policy they should purchase it at booking." So basically saying, like, you need to buy this seat up front if you need it. In its official announcement, Southwest Airlines said customers who encroach upon the neighboring seats should proactively purchase the needed number of seats prior to travel to ensure the additional adjacent seat is available. Jason Vaughn, travel agent at Fat Tested Travel, told the Associated Press, "I think it's going to make the flying experience worse for everybody. They have no idea anymore who their customer is. They have no identity left." Southwest's revised policy takes effect, like we talked about, January 27th. Travelers accustomed to the airline's previous flexibility will need to budget for extra seating, navigate new booking requirements, and prepare for possible refund restrictions. Southwest risks losing loyalty among plus-size travelers to competitors like Alaska Airlines, which maintains its refund policy for extra seats for customers of size. And then in a second, I'm going to read some of Southwest policy. Now, how do I feel about this? Well, first of all, I have tremendous empathy for anyone who is plus size, who, first of all, is just very uncomfortable traveling, right? Any of us, all of us that fly coach, regardless of your size, it's pretty uncomfortable, right? I'm in a smaller body. I'm very uncomfortable in those seats. I barely have room. I cannot imagine what it feels like already, how uncomfortable it is if you are in a larger body size to try to fit into one of those seats. And also how uncomfortable it is to be so close to your neighbor, to know that you're making them uncomfortable, to know that you are encroaching on their space. Now, recently I was listening to the Juicy Scoop podcast with Heather McDonald, and Guy Branum was on there. And I love this guy. He's a super talented writer. He's very famous. He's a comedian. He's hilarious. Every time he goes on her show, I listen to it multiple times because he's so intelligent. The way he says things, like there's just a wealth of information in there, and he's so funny. Anyway, I love this guy. I'm a huge, huge fan. And he was talking about how he had to do a lot of flying. He's a bigger guy. And he had to do a lot of flying from LA to like New York or something. And how he decided to fly, he usually flies first class when he's not flying a lot, but this particular space of time, he had to travel a lot, and he wasn't going to spend that much money flying business class. So he ended up flying in Delta. He flew Delta, which have slightly larger seats anyway, and a little bit more space than your average, like definitely Southwest. But he already had anxiety going into it, knowing that he wasn't going to have a lot of space, knowing that he's going to be, pouring over the seat a little bit into his neighbor's seat, how it's going to be pretty uncomfortable both for him and his neighbor. And apparently he had the asshole of all assholes that was going to have to sit next to him. And apparently this guy was like one of those, million-mile people that had extra privileges on Delta, and apparently he literally like assaulted him. He threw a fit, was like trying to call Delta to complain, to get his seat moved, to upgrade, and he ended up like he was being a jerk to everyone around him, and ended up, I think, like elbowing or doing something aggressive to Guy. Guy was in tears. He and Delta ended up handling it poorly as well. Although one of the flight attendants apparently was like, "I hear you on Juicy Scoop. You're amazing," and like gave him just a little bit of encouragement. Like, that guy's an asshole. You're totally in the right. So, at the end, she made him feel a little bit better. But still, it's incredibly embarrassing, unnecessary from this jerk. And look, I think all of us are uncomfortable, right? Like when I go and I'm walking onto my Southwest flight and I'm looking for, where I want to sit. Luckily, I did get, I had good boarding. So I was able to get an aisle seat or window seat all times. But look, when I'm last, if I'm going to be forced to find a middle seat, if I'm being brutally honest, I want the most comfortable experience as possible when I'm flying. So I will look for people that I will feel comfortable sitting next to. And I'm usually trying to find women, or somebody much older, right? Like if I have to sit next to a man, I want it to be like an older man. Again, that's just like me. I prefer being around women. I prefer if I have to sit super close to somebody, I'd rather be a woman. And again, if I'm being honest, I am looking for the most space possible, right? And that's just because I will be more comfortable, my neighbors will be more comfortable. And again, when I'm if I really analyze this past trip that I took, there weren't a lot of obese, what's considered obese. I know that that's maybe a controversial term these days, but severely overweight people, you don't really see them that often flying. And that's sad. And I think it is because of the comfort level. I think it is because of some of the stigma and bias that fat people face in society and traveling. And I cannot imagine this added expense. I was trying to find the cheapest flight under $1,000 so I could go see my family and not break the bank. Imagine if I had to buy two of those, if I had to spend $1,400 to have an extra seat. That's prohibitive. I probably would not have gone. And that is so sad to me that there are going to be people that don't fly because of this rule. And I also understand that businesses have to survive, and businesses now it is nice that they still can get a refund if the flight's not booked. So I never even knew about this policy, that they could get a refund and get that extra seat for free. I think that's wonderful. And I think that the fact that they can still do that on a flight that's not booked is still good. But and here's what I started thinking, because of course I was that girl that got the letter to bring my dog on for free. I got the emotional support letter so I could not pay the $100 to bring my dog. I'm like, yeah, I'm emotional. I need my dog for emotional support reasons. I'm trying to save $100. Like everyone's trying to save money these days, right? It's the economy is trash. So we're all trying to save money. So I was thinking, well, if I was, in a larger body, I would try to just book one flight and see if I could get away with it. Well, so then I read and I'm like, how is Southwest going to handle that? Like, what if people try to do that? They're like, well, I'm not technically in that other seat. And how stressful, how embarrassing, how anxiety provoking to think about, am I going to get kicked off this flight? Am I going to be forced to pay double? So I was like, how is Southwest going to handle this? So this is their policy. Okay, so this is directly on the Southwest page. What is your policy for customers of size? Customers who encroach upon the neighboring seats should proactively purchase the needed number of seats prior to travel to ensure the additional seat is available. The armrest is considered to be the definitive boundary between seats. You may review information about the width of passenger seats. In addition, Southwest may determine in its sole discretion that an additional seat is necessary for safety purposes. So they want you to book in advance. What happens if I arrive to the airport and haven't reserved the space I need? If you haven't reserved an extra seat and it's determined you need one, you'll be accommodated with a complimentary extra seat if space is available. If the flight is full, you'll be rebooked on another flight with available seating. Who knows when that's going to be, right? These both flights, all 3 flights that I flew trying to get back to Arizona were all full. So when would this person have gotten home? How do they get back to work if they have to go into an office, right? If this determination is made after boarding, you may need to deplane for rebooking. How embarrassing, how horrible, how traumatizing, how expensive, how this can derail a million plans, work. Again, am I going to fly knowing this? If I'm plus size, if I'm in a larger body, not sure. No, I'm not going to. I'm going to feel discriminated against. I'm going to feel horrible about myself. I'm going to feel full of anxiety. Imagine being on a flight. They come up and say, "Oh, you need an extra seat. You're too large for that seat. You need to deplane." Imagine getting up, being walked off a plane. It's horrendous. It is horrendous. It's a difficult subject because we all want to be comfortable when we fly. We all should have the same rights as humans. And it is a difficult topic of how do you accommodate everybody, right? Travel shouldn't just be for people in a smaller body. And I think, again, like some of the people in larger bodies that don't want to take GLP-1s were really worried about this new era of the GLP-1 where people are like, well, you can do something about that. You don't need to be fat. You don't need to be in that larger body size. And the discrimination that they would face because of that. Here we are, right? We're here. And this just really shows that whole movement. Remember, like the whole body positivity movement where all these brands were becoming inclusive and all these plus size models were now walking the runways. A lot of that's gone now, right? Now that we live in this era where political incorrectness is welcomed apparently in society and racism is rampant and people aren't caring anymore about certain demographics. And it's really sad. So I just feel a lot of empathy for those that will be affected negatively by this policy. And look, I understand from a bit, and I'm glad that it's still possible for somebody to get a refund, but this is going to cause a lot of trauma to certain groups of people. So anyway, I thought that was something to discuss. I would, if you have a strong opinion on this, I would love to hear from you. This influencer that is an asshole, complete asshole, that was he basically, what he'll do is he'll post pictures of these fat influencers, the body positivity, and be like, why should I suffer because you made these choices and because you're, and it's lumping everybody into this group of, oh, you're lazy, oh, and perpetuating that stigma that surrounds fat people, when there's a lot of people that, again, are in larger body sizes that are healthier than some of the thin people in this world. So anyway, don't like that guy. Not going to promote him. Maybe I'll mention it on my paid episode next week, because I might actually share some of the content, but behind a paywall. Like I don't want the general public supporting this guy. Let me just say that. But anyway, that is my diet culture media moment of the week. All right, let's get into my healthy habits of the week. Well, so this is going to be a very short section because it was the holidays. And look, I went into it with the best intentions. I was like, okay. I said to my mom, I'm like, until New Year's Eve, while I'm working, I'm just going to have a protein shake in the morning. And my protein shakes there are very simple. Like my mom has a vanilla protein that I use. She has some chia seeds, and then she has some frozen berries. So it's just those three things. I'm not doing the avocado and the green tea and the hemp seeds and all that. I just keep it really simple when I'm in Maine. So I did that one day. One day I had that shake. And then I asked her to get a bunch of cucumbers, and I think I asked her to pick up feta cheese, and I don't even think I opened it. Hopefully it'll stay good because it wasn't opened. Anyway, but I asked her to get red onion, cucumber, just so I can make my salad, with some pistachios and cucumber, red onion. And then I was going to have some egg on toast, egg on sourdough. So I asked her to get me a thing of sourdough and some eggs. I'm like, I'm going to keep it really, really simple. Because she had made all these cookies, I'm like, okay, I'll have my sweet treats as well, but I do want like my meals to be well balanced and healthy, and very similar to what I do in Arizona. I did that one day. One day I did have an egg sandwich another night, but I did 2 pieces of buttered toast with cheese, and it wasn't the healthiest sandwich, but it was still delicious. So, for at least the first, until the day before New Year's Eve, I didn't really overeat. I was eating with some balance. Before I left, I had really healthy food like my Thai chili soup and some nuts and a lot of protein. And so I went into the holiday feeling really good. And again, not really overindulging until the day before Christmas Eve. Now, the day before Christmas Eve, we got Thai food. And this Thai place is, Thai is pretty healthy. I did these fresh rolls that I love. Best fresh rolls in the game. I love these fresh rolls. They're so, so good. And then I did my green curry fried rice with chicken and vegetables. So that was, pretty good. But I did eat, I ate all of it, and just lots of peanut butter balls and other stuff. So I did get some working out in. I did not work out every single day, but I did do, like I said, I did work out with my weighted vest and some extra weights one day. I think I probably got maybe 4 good workouts in, along with just a nice walk. It just wasn't my focus. But the days that I had to work, I'm like, oh, I might as well get a workout in anyway. I'm not really doing much else besides sitting here in front of my computer and and sometimes I can work out while I'm working. So it's kind of nice to knock out two birds with one stone and, be on the clock while I'm actually getting some movement in. So those were, the biggest things that I did for, health related things. My mom knocks on my door one day and hands me a few Brazil nuts. So she listened to my podcast about the Brazil nuts. So I have been eating my Brazil nuts. So I did get some good antioxidants and good nutrients through eggs and chia seeds and nuts. I did a lot of nuts. So that was good. And really, those were my healthy habits of the week. I hope all of you had some great healthy habits over the holidays yourselves. All right, let's get into my tasty treats. Now, this is going to be a long section because, again, it was the holidays. So I took the red eye on Wednesday into Thursday. And I did, because I'm not doing the lounge thing, I am treating myself with candy and all kinds of just junk when I'm traveling. So I did get some Swedish fish. And I got, what else did I get? I got something else for the trip. But anyway, so I love Swedish fish. They're so good. So I got some Swedish fish. Maybe I brought some pizza or something. Anyway, but so I landed and I had to work that day. So I worked that day, just ate what was around. And the next day, we had a lunch. So my mom wanted to take us out to kind of a fancy lunch for my sister's birthday to celebrate with her. So we went to this restaurant, Mosaic, which has kind of Mexican fare. And I had a bowl, a carne asada bowl. So it was beef with this carne asada, rice, beans. It had some greens in it. My sister ordered a quesadilla, so I had a little bit of that. And then we stopped at this cupcake bakery that I love. It's called Laugh Loud, Smile Big. And we got some cupcakes to go. So I got this, oh my God, this chocolate peppermint cupcake. So I'm going to be posting pictures of all this stuff on my Instagram, probably today or tomorrow. Oh my God, these cupcakes are so, you can't even... The icing is that thick, sugary icing, and she puts it nice and big on top. And then, if you want to try to get like one bite, like my mouth is not big enough to like get it all in one bite, but I did try. And so what I ended up doing was like biting a little bit of the icing, eating a little bit from the bottom, and making it a little bit smaller on the top and bottom so that I could get that thick, delicious cake and thick icing into one bite. So good. So good. Had that. And then, okay, so my sister is your main concierge. Go follow her on Instagram. If you want the most incredible main experiences, you need to go see her. She sets up these incredible experiences, and all the chefs and all the people that own the high-end boutique inns and, boutique hotels and all of these, just the best of the best restaurants and lodging in Maine, know my sister. And we just always get hooked up wherever we go. So she's like, hey, are you working on Saturday? Do you want to go? There's this wine tasting, like VIP thing that I got invited to. She's like, I'm not even sure like exactly what it is, but she said it's supposed to be like really good wine and some food. And I'm like, yes. I'm like, well, how much is it? Because I'm trying to save some money right now. And they ended up comping my ticket, and we were getting this luxury executive suite to stay in. So I'm like, yeah, I can make it. So I dressed nice, and she wanted to stop at one of her friends' restaurants for a quick appetizer and a drink before we went. So she wanted to bring me to this place called Hayes Sailor, and it's close to Searsport near Belfast in Maine. And so we went in just for a cocktail, and we were looking at the appetizers, and there were some fries, and oh my God, these fries, my mouth was watering just thinking of these fries. They were like very thin fries with a ton of seasoning, because I always ask for salt, and the bartender's like, you might want to try those first before you salt them. And I'm like, okay, I will. And I'm glad I did, because they had plenty of flavor. Oh my God, these fries were literally crack cocaine. They were like the perfect size and texture and saltiness, and so good. And so we ordered a drink. I had this, they had very like eclectic drinks. So I ordered this very interesting version of a sangria, and we were like picking at the fries. And then the chef, who's one of the owners, comes out with this huge pizza for us. He's like, you have to try the pizza. And so I'm like, okay, don't twist my arm. So had a piece of pizza, had fries, and some really delicious cocktails. And my sister, mind you, has like this beanie on, this flannel shirt. She's quintessential down to earth, salt to the earth Maine. And I'm thinking that she's going to change before we go to this like this VIP wine thing. And the bartender's like, oh, are you going to that black tie event? And my sister's like, I hope not. Like, this is how I'm dressing and I don't even care. And I'm like, and I'm in, what did I wear? I wore something. I wore like a nice sweater and some nice jewelry and my like high boots. And, I looked decent. And so we get there, and they're literally putting down a red carpet, like up to this very beautiful, it was like this brick, they call them executive lodges. And so we go in, and Vanessa's like, I hope this isn't black tie. This is what I'm wearing. I'm sorry. I didn't, it was fine. People love that about her, that she's, because there were people literally in gowns. There were men in bow ties and full like tuxedo type outfits, and she didn't care. She's like, whatever. So I do admire that in her. So we go up to this executive suite, and it's so beautiful. They've got this king size bed up. It's basically a studio, but it's got, but the bed was up on this, up these steps, and the bed was heated. Like everything was heated. The floors had heat in them. The bed was heated. The towel rack was heated. So when you grabbed a towel, it was nice and warm. And then, so I took a little video of that, which I did post on my stories, but I'm going to do a full post pretty soon. And so we go downstairs, and it's all these like very fancy hors d'oeuvres. There's, and I guess the event was called Three Somms, because there's three sommeliers there, and they were like educating us on the wine. There were all these beautiful bottles of wine open that we could do tastings, and they did a cheers with this beautiful sparkling rosé, and then they were passing around hors d'oeuvres like these bites of arancini. And what else did they have? They had a bunch of like crackers with like a little bit of like, they had one with beef and horseradish. They had another one with like salmon and caviar and whatever. So I didn't really eat any of those. I did do a bite of the arancini. At that point, I was very into the wine, so I was mainly drinking. They did have some macaroons. They had like a whole dessert area. So I did have some macaroons towards the end of the night. But the wine was incredible. I did end up buying a bottle of this very dry, it wasn't sweet at all. It was a Riesling, because I knew my mom would love it. And then we drank that bottle the next 2 nights. But it was really fun. I met some very interesting people. Some people, actually, one of the guys that I met used to work at the same health club that I did, Equinox, back in Santa Monica. So back in California. So it was so funny. So he owns a health club somewhere in Maine. And then his wife was this beautiful personal trainer in this gorgeous glittery dress. And there was this guy that I met that was like former Olympic athlete, just really fascinating, interesting people. They had a live band that was playing. And it was just like I felt very lucky to attend this event, to be stopping at all these places and tasting all this delicious food and all this delicious wine. And I just love that my sister does what she does for a living. I hope she never stops. And I'm glad that she invited me. It's just really nice. Oh, one thing I forgot to mention that we took to go with us from Hayes Sailor is a coconut cream pie. So we got one. It's supposed to just be for 2 people. It's maybe this big, probably about as big as my head. But oh my God, I had some of that for breakfast. I had some at night after the event was over. I had a piece of pizza and some coconut cream pie after the event was over, because I didn't really eat much at the event, but I'm like, okay, that pizza is going to taste really good now. Some of that coconut cream pie is going to taste really good. And then I woke up in the morning and I was like, coconut cream pie for breakfast. Oh yeah, breakfast of champions. Here we go. So good. Oh my God, I love coconut cream pie. It's so yummy. So had an incredible experience there. Oh, they did have some quiche that was another thing that I did eat at this event. I'm glad I wrote that down. And it was a really nice experience. And then, so it's funny because I went back, and usually my mom is like, don't eat that and don't eat that. And that's for Christmas Eve. And I think because like for the first few days I didn't eat anything, she's like, aren't you going to eat some cookies? And I'm like, well, I thought you were saving them. I didn't think you wanted me to eat them. You're always telling me not to eat things. And so then I did start eating things. And so she had got this peppermint ice cream. And it's funny because I hadn't opened it yet. And then she sent me a text being like, I ate a lot of your peppermint ice cream. And then I'm like, oh, I better eat some. Because then I started having like FOMO. I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to miss out on this peppermint ice cream. And then I basically ate the rest of it. My poor mother didn't really get much more after that. One morning I had ice cream for breakfast. I woke up one morning and I'm like, I'm craving ice cream. I want something sweet right now. And I'm like, you know what? I'm on holiday. I'm going to have some peppermint ice cream for breakfast. So that's what I did. Now I'm doing back to my superfood smoothie for breakfast. But I do like to have sometimes I like something sweet in the morning. And look, my superfood smoothie does satisfy me. But when I'm in Maine on holiday, it's peppermint ice cream. It's coconut cream pie. We like to indulge. So I had frosted sugar cookies, not for breakfast, but again, this is throughout my time in Maine. My mom made these Biscoff cookies, like homemade Biscoff. Now, the Biscoff that I know of is usually served on a plane, and it's those very thin, very crunchy cookies, which I love. I love those cookies because they're very rich and buttery. And I never really placed that they kind of have a molasses taste until I tried my mom's, because my mom's were like thick and they had this kind of softer middle. And it was very much like a molasses cookie. So really, really good. I only had one of them. But she made a bunch of peanut butter balls. Now, I forgot to let her know, but I don't like when peanut butter balls are made with crunchy peanut butter. I'm like, I don't like to get the bits of nut in there. But they were still really good. They have that butterscotch coating. My stepfather got me this yummy chocolate cake pop that was yummy. Oh my God, and these raspberry bars. Oh, they have coconut on top and then like a raspberry gelade in the middle. And there's kind of like a shortbread, but very moist cake-like cookie on the bottom. To die for. I'm obsessed with these. So good. So my mom made all those things homemade. Now my mom is a perfectionist. She makes the most delicious food. She's an excellent cook. And she is where I get some of my perfectionism that I'm trying to not have within me, because she puts so much pressure on herself for everything to be perfect. And especially over the holidays, she wants to create these amazing memories, and she knows how much we love food. So she's always cooking all these amazing things. And she was going to make a coconut cake for Christmas. And I'm I love coconut. I was like, okay, coconut cake, yum, sounds good. So she's making this coconut cake and it's, it's taking a long time. She's like, why are these cakes? Because it was like a layered cake. And so she like takes them out of the oven. She's like, why are they so flat? She's like, they didn't rise. But she's like, she's putting on the icing and it's labor. It's a lot of work to make these homemade cakes and homemade frosting and then put it all together. And then she realizes later that she left out all the dry ingredients. So she left out the baking powder, the baking soda, the flour. And I didn't know this until I was out on this winter walk with my sister. And she's like, did Ma tell you that she found all the dry ingredients and she had forgotten to add them to the cake? And she's like, she's so upset. And I'm like, it will probably still taste good. Because I'm like, the actual mixture that she baked probably had egg and sugar and vanilla and butter. I'm like, it's probably just going to be like a high protein, high fat cake, with lots of sugar on top. I'm like, it probably still tastes good. So I'm like, I'll still try it if she hasn't thrown it away. So I go back and I didn't even bring it up. I'm like, I'm not going to bring it up to her. But I could tell she's like upset. She's like, she's like sighing here and there. And she finally brought it up to me. She's like, did Vanessa tell you? She's like, I messed up the cake. And I'm like, Mom. And she like started tearing up a little bit. I'm like, Mom, I'm like, you have look at all this food you've made. I'm like, everything has come out perfect. I'm like, it's impossible for 100% of things to come out perfect. I'm like, you're human. We're all human. I'm like, stop being a perfectionist. I'm like, stop putting all this pressure on yourself. Meanwhile, in my head, I would do the same thing. I would be angry. I'd be upset. I would be because it's just a lot of work, right? And when you put that much work in and you want this to feed your family and to be this thing that they are like, oh my God, this tastes so good. Like it's that too. It's like creating this special food memory for your family too. So I understood why she was upset. I would be the same way. But I'm also like, Mom, don't let this ruin your day. Don't let this, because it's in the grand scheme of things, it doesn't matter. It's probably still delicious. Nobody needs to know. And it was. I tried it. It was still really, really good. And so I don't think she even told my stepfather that she left those dry ingredients. And I'm glad. It was still edible and delicious and tasted just fine. So anyway, so that was funny. And then, so Christmas Eve, we invite some people over and it's a lot of like, casual eating. Like we're not sitting down to a formal meal. We just make a lot of stuff that people can kind of like, eat and talk and socialize. So now my brother ended up making this really delicious beef stew, but made it with like a curry base, like a green curry base. So it was like a curried beef stew, which was so good. Oh my God, my mouth's watering thinking about it. And my mom made some taco meat and she put out some Tostitos so we could just scoop some taco meat. And then the whole tray of cookies, like holiday cookies that she made, all just look so beautiful. And then I made some garlic bread and let's see, what else did we have? Shrimp. Well, we didn't actually have, I made my shrimp guido. So that's, I bred some shrimp I dip it in flour, egg, breadcrumbs, and then fry it and then coat it in some delicious garlic butter. So good. So I made some of that. And then, my mom made this tomato basil tart. So it was basically like a pie crust and it had Parmesan cheese and tomato, fresh basil. And it basically tasted very similar to a margarita pizza, but with like pastry dough. So yum, so good. My sister put together a beautiful charcuterie board. So I had some, and my brother made the like sliced up a baguette and made like little toast pieces from it. There's a name for it, but it's escaping me. And then, so I hate that my sister gets like a blue cheese type cheese because I will not eat that, but she did get a couple other cheeses that were good. And so had that. And then my stepfather, he's the only one that likes these, but he got this huge tray of egg salad and tuna finger sandwiches, those little tiny subs. But store-bought, first of all, I will not ever eat egg salad. Mayo and egg, ew, gross. No. And this tuna, like I will eat tuna, and I even will eat tuna with some mayo in it if it looks good, if it has texture. This literally looked like it had been pureed, and like it just looked like mush. No thank you. So I may, just because I've been watching so much of Ben Soffer, Boy with No Job, Good Guys podcast, makes so much tuna salad. I'm like starting to crave it. So I probably will need to make some at some point, but I'm going to make it my version, my delicious version. So maybe I'll make that soon. But anyway, that was our Christmas Eve. And then Christmas Day, we have had a tradition where my sister makes her meatballs that my dad used to make with his recipe, and then a homemade marinara sauce. And then we have linguine, and I make a salad and some more garlic bread. And that's what we had. And it's a really yummy pasta meal. My mom doesn't have to cook. My sister and I do the cooking. So that was really good. My sister was super stressed because she had to cook at my mom's this year because there was such a big snowstorm. She did the cooking and stayed an extra night. And so she was a little stressed with all the cooks in the kitchen, but it was fine. Next year, I might take over and make homemade Chinese food because we all know I can make really delicious lettuce wraps, really delicious egg rolls, fried rice. So I might beef and broccoli. I don't know. I'm kind of motivated to do that next year. So anyway, those were my tasty treats of the week. I hope all of you have had some incredibly delicious, tasty treats over the holidays yourselves. All right, let's get into my podcast review. Now, I actually listened to this episode a while ago, but I didn't really listen to it to do a review. I just really wanted to listen to it. So I just listened to it, and then I'm like, I really should do a review on that one because there was just so much in it. So this was an episode of The Toast with Claudia Oshray and Remi Bader. Now, Remi she's a social media influencer that became really big during the body positivity movement. She became this like fashion icon. She was doing all these, what do they call, where they try on all those hauls, like those fashion hauls, but realistic fashion hauls for larger girls, right? And she would put on these, like she'd get an order from like say Forever 21, and it would fit her so awkwardly. So she'd basically be making fun of herself and put a juxtaposition of this like very, very thin model that looked perfect in this outfit. And then she would show herself looking terrible in it and just be like, well, this is the reality of what this looks like on a girl in a larger body. And she just became very popular with, the community of women that resonated with, where, you think something's going to look cute on you, you order it, and then you're like, oh, wah, wah. That used to happen to me when I'd order like Victoria's Secret model, like bathing suits, and I'd try to put it on, and I'd have like, parts of my body, the extra love handles I'd have would be pouring over the sides, and, it just would not look as good as it did on the models, obviously. So, I relate to that a little bit with my own journey when I used to try to fit into these, again, like you see these fashion models that look amazing, and then you try it on yourself and you're like, oh, this just doesn't look good on me. So anyway, so she became very popular and famous, really internet famous during that time. But she was also like, she became kind of like this poster child for the body positivity movement, but she was always very clear that she wasn't happy in her body size. She wanted to be in a smaller body. She didn't like where she was. And she'd gotten there because she had a binge eating disorder. And I've done many episodes on Remi. She was on the Khloe Kardashian podcast where she talked about, so Remi has lost over 100 pounds, and she lost it very rapidly from a very intense weight loss surgery that she had. And again, and this is very controversial. Like, I've had clients that have died, weight loss clients that have died from getting weight loss surgery. So it's not to be taken lightly. It's not a decision that should be made lightly. And Remi had gone on the Khloe Kardashian podcast to talk about it. So I did a full review on that. If you want to go back in the archives and listen to that episode, it's quite a good one if I do say so myself. But she hadn't been on the toast since she had done that show. And, Claudia is, and again, I'm going to do this whole review line by line because I just am fascinated by the way they talk about things, because Claudia is very open. She's like an open book. She will talk about, her life as a fat person before she did Ozempic and then after. And she's just really, really open about it all, wants to share, wants to talk about it. And Remi is very, very uncomfortable, still very unsure of how to talk about it, especially because she was given this placard of being body positive. And she's like, guys, I'm not the poster child for this movement. So you just see it throughout this show of how uncomfortable Remi is talking versus Claudia. And this is just the first section of the show. There's much more to the show. So if you want to go listen to the full show, you're going to hear more to the episode. So they're kind of joking around at first. Remi's I had to basically beg to come on your show again. And Claudia's kind of giving her crap about, the fact that she went on the Khloe podcast instead of breaking the news about her weight loss surgery on the toast. And Claudia's well, we're very similar in terms of our weight. We've always talked very candidly about being fat. She said, the last time you were here, there was so much backlash from the fat community. She's I wasn't sure if you even wanted to come back. She's like, but I can't believe how skinny you are. You're a completely different person. And she's like, you went on to talk about it on a different podcast, whatever. But as you listen to the show, you can hear Claudia's oh my God, you're so skinny. And again, you're not supposed to really talk about that these days, right? So, but Claudia is just whatever. And again, that's what I like about Claudia, is she's not trying to be politically correct. She's just saying whatever the hell she wants to say. And again, she loves talking about this topic, as I do. So Remi's just kind of Claudia loves to come at me for this. Basically the fact that she went on Khloe Kardashian's podcast instead of coming on the toast. And Claudia's well, we need to talk about this. She's how do you feel? She's I cannot believe how skinny you are. Claudia just could not stop saying it. And you could tell it was making Remi very uncomfortable. And Remi's no, I'm not. She's I'm still a size 10. And Claudia's well, how do you feel? That's really what I want to know. How is life different for you now? And Remi's well, we've talked about this here and there. She's I think I feel very differently than you do. You're all I'm skinny. I love it. Get excited. And Claudia's yeah, she's it's so much better to not carry all that weight, is essentially what Claudia is saying. And Remi's but I'm still very confused. I'm very conflicted. She's it was so fast for me. She's it was abnormally fast. How she's talking about how fast she lost that weight. And Claudia's yeah, and you dropped it on the Khloe Kardashian podcast, and maybe that's why I haven't invited you back. And Remi's look, I still feel my brain is trying to adjust. She's like, I still have the mind of a fat person. She's like, my sizing has obviously changed significantly, but I also lost more weight than I wanted to. She's like, it sounds very weird. She's like, I always loved being like the curvy girl. She's like, I grew up that way. I liked growing up that way. She's like, so I was actually upset that I lost more weight than I wanted to, but like, it wasn't my decision at that point. She said, so she's like, there's just a lot of emotions that you go through after a weight loss surgery, like emotional things and things that like physical things that I have to do for the rest of my life that you don't really think about before you have that surgery. So I do think that the struggles that I'm dealing with now are, she's like, so do I think that the struggles that I have to deal with now are more difficult than the struggles that I dealt with as a fat person? You know, being in this world, like the physical pain I was in, the back pain. She's like, I will say that I definitely feel better now. She's like, I'm in less pain. She said, but I still struggle, for example, to like figure out what I'm eating. And Claudia is like, well, do you still have an eating disorder? And Remi's like, yeah. She's like, you know, I had a binge eating disorder before. She's like, and my mind never changed. She said, but my body is so different now. I can't physically eat like I did before, but there's still ways to stretch your stomach. I mean, like the other surgery that you can have, she's talking about the gastric sleeve. She didn't have that surgery because you can stretch your stomach. Like her doctor was telling her, like, you can't have this gastric sleeve because with your binge eating disorder, you'll just ruin the surgery and stretch your stomach and go back to where you were. She said, but she's like, there are little things that you can do with my surgery that, you know, make it a little bit easier. But you know, she's basically saying that she can stretch her stomach a little bit now. It's not like the gastric sleeve. But she's like, but she's like, there are certain ways that I just physically can't eat anymore. She's like, right now, so here's what she said. She said, even remembering you can't have food and water in between 30 minutes for the rest of your life and not be unwell. I think what she's talking about is that she has to space the amount of food and water she has in a 30-minute period because her body just can't handle more than a certain amount before it starts to digest. Like, so for example, if I'm eating fries and I'm salting my ketchup, I'm eating something really salty, for the next hour, I will just be gulping water down because I ate so much salt and I'm like thirsty. And my body like wants to balance all that sodium. And I like sometimes I will get so full because I've eaten so much, but I'm also drinking so much water and I'm just like full food and water and it's just like sitting in my stomach. So Remi can't do that, right? She will get sick, she will throw up. And so that's really what she's talking about is a lot of things that you can't do anymore, right? You can't overindulge or you will literally get sick. And so that would be really hard. I mean, like I said, I had that weight loss client who, you know, and she was, I don't know, she's probably like 600 pounds. And she was the first one that talked to me about how uncomfortable it was to fly. And she tries not to fly and she gets all this anxiety when she has to fly. And you know, she died on the operating table from complications of a weight loss surgery. So, and it's just, you know, there's some people that have complications where they can never eat solid food again. I mean, it's not to be taken lightly. These weight loss surgeries are very intense. So Remi's just saying that there's a lot to learn and she's still trying to figure it all out. And Claudia's like, I'd love to hear, you know, what you feel about your former self, because that was something I really dealt with. She's like, I don't know if shame is the right word. She goes, but I would look back at her and feel for her. She's like, I loved her and felt bad for her at the same time. She's like, but I'm also like very excited to be done with her too and not go back to that girl that I was in the past in a larger body. And Remi's like, I fully feel bad when I look back, for the way that people treated her and, in my personal life and online. She said, I'm now in a very confusing place. And she's like, she's like asking Claudia, she's like, when did you start your weight loss journey? And Claudia's like, I started it between 2023 and 2024. And Remi's like, and I knew you were on that journey at that time. She's like, but I wasn't at that point. She's like, and you were one of those people in my mind where I was like very frustrated internally because like you were ready to go on that journey, but I didn't understand it fully. And she's like, I would never publicly shame you or hate you, especially if she's like, I just never understood why people would publicly shame or hate people if they haven't dealt with it themselves. So what she's talking about here is she's talking about how, like, when Claudia decided that she wanted to go on this weight loss journey, like Remi was like, okay, like I wish I was there. Like she's ready to go on this journey, and even though I'm not going to like give her hate for that. And Remi's talking about the hate that she felt from her community with people that were fat like her, in larger bodies like her, and were mad at Remi for losing weight, for like being ready to go on her journey, because these girls didn't want to lose their representation. They didn't want to lose that person that they related to. And she's basically like, I can't imagine, like, even if I wasn't in that place where I wanted to change my body, I would never hate you for wanting to do that. So she's basically being like, people should do what's right for them and people shouldn't give them shit about it. And Claudia's like, well, you got yourself in a difficult position because you were essentially the poster child for this whole body positivity movement. And my question is, did you love your body at that time? Because I hated the way I looked in the past. She's like, so when I saw the opportunity to change it, I was like, hell yeah. And Remi's like, well, she's like, well, I'm curious what your thoughts are about the body positivity movement now. And Claudia kind of cuts her off. She's like, well, you and I have been talking offline about the fact that Ozempic has essentially erased the body positivity movement. And obviously it has, because for a lot of big people, it's like a Band-Aid. She's like, they're not going to go around hating themselves. So they embraced it. They're going to love themselves and focus on loving themselves. But most fat people don't want to be fat. And she's like, a lot of people were like me, like if they had this magic pill, which is essentially what Ozempic is, she's like, they would take it. She's like, being fat in this world is hard. And Remi's like, and again, let me just stop there, because it is like, right, just about the issue we talked about with flights. Obviously, it's harder to be in this world. It's more expensive to be in this world as a fat person. You're discriminated against. You're given hate for people that are sitting next to you that might be a little more uncomfortable because you're encroaching on their area. That's really what Claudia is talking about the stigma, the shame, the public, the way the public treats you. Right? I've talked about it many times. Like, yes, do I have internalized fat phobia because I like the ease of that I walk through this world? Yes, of course. Of course I like the privileges I get for being in a smaller body. Who's not going to like privileges that they get in this world? And some people fight to keep those privileges in place to the detriment of others. And some people just want the good things for everybody, right? And I think, but essentially, I understand what Claudia is saying. Like, it is hard. And look, even fat activists like Virginia Soul-Smith on Burnt Toast, like she has focused and taken a firm stance to not shrink her body, to not use the GLP-1. She's like, I've given up that fight to be in a smaller body. And at the same time, she acknowledges that it's hard to be a fat person in this world. It just is. And so Remi said, I always said I wasn't body positive. I made that so clear. She said, I never said I love my body. I started talking online about how I wasn't body positive, how like that's how I started. She's like, I started posting about how I was struggling from gaining all this weight, from binging, how I was struggling shopping, because I went up to a 14, 16 when I'm normally a 10, 12. She said, that's what I was talking about, is how I didn't like where I was and I was struggling. And she's like, and other people decided that that's where I fit in, that I am body positive, and that's kind of like where they wanted to put me. And Claudia's said, I think it's hard. She said, I think it's a hard life being in a larger body. I don't know if those were exact words she said, but she's like, just simple things like crossing your legs. She's like, chub rub. She's like, things that other people just don't deal with that makes your day harder or more uncomfortable. And Remi's like, yeah, she's like, there was a point where I had to have somebody else buckle my shoes. And of course, the pain and fertility related things. But I will always care about inclusivity. She said, I don't think larger sizes should be taken away. She's like, anything anything I'm personally involved in has to be inclusive. And Claudia's like, well, what is inclusive in this world right now? And Remi's like, well, my Revolve line was 3X and my Sam's Club line goes up to 6X. And she's like, we were able to push Revolve to do a 4X. She said, so some people still give me shit about that. She's like, but look, we made some progress. So I'm proud of that. And Claudia asked, well, how much of the larger sizes do you actually sell? And Remi's like, well, way less. She's like, way less of the higher sizes. But she's like, the larger sizes, those still need to be present. She said, brand should just buy less. She's like, buy 20 pieces and sell out of them, and then buy more if they sell out. Or if they don't sell, you won't have so much of a loss, but have them there. And Claudia's like, I totally agree. And the whole fat/body positivity movement is so toxic anyway. And Remi's like, well, I'm still nervous about talking about this stuff. She's like, you're more comfortable than I am. She's like, I didn't say that the body positivity movement was toxic. Like, I can see that getting clipped and people saying that I said that. And she's like, I'm just still very nervous about what I say and how I say it. And I think Remi's afraid of losing what she's built. And look, I think that when you've gained fame and fortune, there's got to be some level of fear when you change, right? And you're not who you used to be when you did gain all of this fame and fortune. So I think that's really where Remi feels nervous about. And also she's just, again, still trying to figure out how to talk, because now things do fit her. Things do fit her better than they used to, right? So Claudia said, I want to review the shackles of, I want to remove the shackles of overthinking. She's like, it's just not good for your mind, body, and soul. She's like, I've been very vocal about, how weight loss changed my business. She said the opportunities that were afforded to me, the rates were higher. She's like, so when you were thinking about doing your surgery, like I told you that was my experience, and you were really worried about how it would affect your entire career, being that you were a poster child for this body positivity movement. So how is work different for you now? Like, do you have different opportunities? Do you have different brands that want to work with you? And Remi's like, well, I'm definitely invited to a lot of things that I never was invited to in the past. And I'm very conscious of that. She's like, I've declined a lot of these invites because I just feel bad for my former self that didn't get invited. And I don't want to just be invited now because of my size. I talked to Chloe about that too. She said the same thing, that there are things that she's invited to now that was only Kim or Courtney were invited to before. And Chloe won't go. She's like, no, fuck you. Like if you weren't inviting me when I was in a larger size, I'm not going now. And Claudia's like, well, I respect that. She's like, she's like, I'll take the money. She's like, I can be bought. So, and again, I love Claudia's brutal honesty about who she is and how money motivated she is, and that she will say yes to a brand even if they discriminated against her in the past. It's like, okay, maybe her values aren't aligned with mine, but I also do think that she's brutally honest, and I respect that. Remi's like, I'm more of a grudge holder. And Claudia is like, well, you just have more principles than I do, which is admirable. But at the end of the day, this is a business and we need to put food on the table. And Remi said that there are other opportunities. She's like, and I'm not sure. Some of them that are not food or clothing related, I'm not sure if they're coming to me because I'm in a smaller size or not. But she said, a lot of people don't know this, but my surgery was completely covered by insurance. She's like, I was at a point where I was considered, morbidly obese, and I had a lot of other health complications. So she said that this was covered for my health. It was 100% covered by insurance. And so she's like, I want people to know that there was a real health need, not just trying for vanity. And again, I think that Remi is somebody who is definitely talking more about the health benefits versus, just wanting to be thin, to be approved of societally, and to have like some of the ease in the world. But again, I think it's just interesting how like the difference between Claudia and Remi, and how much more confident Claudia is in how she talks about herself, her weight, how she feels now, how she used to feel in the past. And I don't think that, obviously not everybody feels that way, right? There are still, fat influencers, like, and I think that this is what they didn't want, like people that are still in larger bodies that didn't choose to use the GLP-1s, and people are like asking them, wanting to know why. I do wonder, do they think about it? Are they curious? And again, if I faced all those negative aspects of society, the extra charges for flying, like all those things, I would probably be more inclined to move towards that. And not that that's, again, going to be the right choice for everybody. Anyway, I just thought it was an interesting discussion. Hopefully you enjoyed this show. This show went very long. But next week I'll have I'm going to talk about all the things that I couldn't talk about today. Some political things, some controversial things. I might share a little bit more of that asshole influencer. So if you want to listen to that show, you can subscribe through Patreon, through Apple Podcasts, through Spotify, anywhere you listen to podcasts. If you have any ideas for podcasts that you'd like me to do, please send them my way. Podcasts I should review, reviews, news articles, anything diet culture related, or interesting food topics or health related. I love getting all that information from you guys. So again, thank you for listening. Thank you for your support. If you're on YouTube, click that subscribe button. Follow me on Instagram at the Diet Obsessed Podcast. Leave a rating or review. And until we meet again, I hope all of you have a very balanced week.